Hi, welcome to Salt City Knits. I'm Emily, and this is a podcast all about my making life. Today I have knitting to share. I think I only have knitting. Oh, I have a little bit of spinning, and I've got some finished objects, works in progress, and some shop news. I'll do some chatting about books and a little bit about what's going on in our lives. So let's get started. First of all, you can find me as Salt City Knits or Yarnbrary in lots of different places. So on Instagram, I'm both Salt City Knits and Yarnbrary. On Ravelry, I'm Salt City Knits, and my Etsy store is listed as Yarnbrary, and I'm at yarnbrary.com. So you can find my patterns and my yarns in all of those places. My air conditioner is running in the background, and so I hope that the noise is not going to be too annoying, but I can't survive without it. So it is what it is. It's not quite as hot as it has been. And I live in Utah, and our humidity is very, very low, almost non-existent. So somehow we survive it, but it has been around 100 or over 100 degrees Fahrenheit for weeks. And yeah, I'm kind of over it. So I know people talk a lot about seasonal depression in the winter. I have definitely dealt with that myself in the past. But for me, the worst is end of July through August. I struggle a lot at this time of year. I think I feel just like I'm being char grilled. I don't deal well with the heat. I don't deal well with having very little, darkness and kind of feelings of downtime. It feels like just on stage all the time, both in just regular life because of just always the sun being out and it being hot outside, but also because it's just such a hefty work time of the year for our nonprofit Heroic Youth. And it's been particularly scorching. The heat has been bad, but just the stress has been so overwhelming recently. And so, yeah, I'm just not enjoying that part of things. There's lots of things I do enjoy, but not the heat and not the constant stress. That is not my favorite. So, of course, I am so happy that I have my knitting to go to, because that is the best stress reliever for me, combined with reading, and of course for me, anything to do with my faith, with worship, with reading scripture, prayer, all of those things. That's what gets me through this, and my amazing family. And I do have an amazing family. A couple of weeks ago, was it just last week? I think it was just last week. We had originally planned on going camping. It was last week. We had originally planned on going camping during that week. And we were trying to go somewhere kind of close by. I live in Utah, so we are completely surrounded by mountains, and there's lots and lots and lots of camping available out here. So I wanted to go somewhere fairly accessible so that our adult kids, depending on what their situation was, what their schedules were, could maybe stay for a day or two, or even if they could only drive up and spend like an evening with us, that they would be able to do that. But I was really struggling to find a campground that would suit our needs, and we ended up making a reservation for a campground in Fish Lake National Forest, which looked absolutely gorgeous, a little farther away than what we had originally planned. And as time got closer, just nobody was going to be able to make it, which I totally understand. And my kids were, my two that are at home, were just really not excited about it. And Richard and I were feeling like it was just going to be one more thing to work, one more way to work, not really a vacation at all. So we ended up deciding to cancel our camping trip and trying to just plan some fun family activities for that week. so that we could still spend time together and kind of do some fun things. And in the end, that turned out to be the best thing we could have done. There ended up being wildfires in that area, and that campground was closed down anyway. We would not have been able to go anyway, and it just obviously was the right thing, the right decision. We only ended up getting together 3 times with our family that week. It wasn't like we did an entire week's worth of staycation activities, is what I mean. But we had a really good time. So we just did a movie night, and we went to different houses. So we went to my oldest son's house for our movie night, then my daughter's house for a game night, and then we did a backyard breakfast in the morning at our house for one of those days. And it was just really delightful. It was a really nice time. And in the end, it was so much less stress than trying to go camping. Obviously, it was not a getaway or a full vacation, but we still spent some time as a family and had some fun things planned, which is good because at this time of year, both Richard and I tend to get super hyper focused on projects and planning, and we sometimes forget that we need to pause and come up for air and take a break and have fun. And so that was really good. It was really good for us. This week, Richard and Abby are away at church youth camp. Abby is one of the youth leaders for that camp, and Richard is one of the adult staff. And so it's just Isaac and I hanging out together, and it's actually really nice. We've got some plans of some things to do, and then he'll spend some time with his girlfriend, and I'll spend some time knitting and relaxing, and it's going to be nice as well. We have under 4 weeks now, 3.5 weeks until our big events. And that means in 4 weeks from today, we're going to be done. It's going to be finished for the year. And we're going to get to take a huge deep breath and sigh away the stresses, and whatever happens, it will be accomplished. And so I'm really looking forward to that. We can get through it. All right, let's dive into some finished objects. I did a little bit of combination of summer sock camp and Christmas in July, and I knit a Christmas pair of socks. And I think I showed these last time, but they weren't finished. I have not blocked these. I don't know if I will really worry about blocking them. They're stockinette. But I finished these socks for my son-in-law. And I have to flatten them back out the other way because I need to help you to see what a commitment it is to knit socks for him. I don't know if you can really get the scope. These are they're quite extensive in their sizing. So they're great. They're really not that bad. When you think about the difference between maybe a standard women's size sock compared to a man with large, wide feet, yes, that is a difference in size, but it's still a sock compared to, like, not comparing a sock to knitting an entire sweater or something, right? It's still just socks. So here is the first one. Here's the second one. I didn't kind of flatten these out. I had them folded a different way. And I think they just turned out super great. I used for this self-striping yarn is by PNW Purls, which I'm pretty sure stands for Pacific Northwest. And this colorway is it Snoqualmie? No, Snoqualmie is the base. So the label. And the colorway is Emerald Isle. And that's an 80-20 base, and I use a similar base for my contemporary sock. Oh, dropping things. And so I had this skein of Christie on my contemporary sock base, and so I used that for heels and toes and cuffs just to give it a Christmassy feel. And I know a lot of people, when I showed this last time, said it reminded them of Very Hungry Caterpillar. I totally agree. I don't think I showed these finished, right? If I did, forgive me. It's a miracle I even remembered what I knit recently. I don't think I showed them finished. I think I showed them in progress. But I really like them. They turned out great. And I used US sized 1, which is a 2.25 millimeter needle. That's pretty much my standard for sock knitting. I cast on 72 stitches. I knit 25 rounds of ribbing. And then I knit 90 rounds for the leg. And then when I did the heel flap, I did a full 36 rows for the flap. And then a heel turn back to 72 stitches after my decreases. And then I knit 70 rounds once I finished the decreases for the gusset. Then I started counting 70 rounds, and then I ended up with a rounded wedge toe. And I think they turned out great. So both some Christmas in July and some summer sock camp. These are only my 3rd pair for summer sock camp. I had this great idea that I was gonna knit like 15 pairs of, I didn't know, but I really thought I was gonna knit a ton of socks, and it's been a medium amount. It's okay. All right, the next thing I have to show you is a Mill Hollow scarf that I knit to test out a new yarn base that we are adding to our shop. And I love how it turned out. I wish you could feel this, but I hope you can see in the drape, the beautiful drape of this finished scarf, just how lovely this is. This is a yak sock base. So it is, let me think of what the makeup of it is. I don't remember the exact ratios, but it's merino, superwash merino, and then yak, and then nylon. And I know there's 10% nylon, but I think it might be 70, 20, 10. I don't remember exactly right now. But the wonderful thing about this is just, it has this extra level of kind of smoothness and drapiness to it, but still feels strong and woolly. I don't know how to describe it, but I love it. I really enjoyed working with this, and I really enjoyed how it dyed up. The colorway, because this yarn has it's a gray yarn before we dye it, but the colorway is meant to be the same color as my fingernails. And it's of course darker than that because of the gray. So if I were to dye the same color on a different yarn base, it would be much brighter. But I think the color is absolutely beautiful. I love it. It's gonna be a really rich, kind of boysenberry color is what I'm going for. And I really love how it turned out. This skein had, I think, maybe 110 grams in it. And so when I started knitting this up, I really wanted to use up as much of it as I could. And so I knit all the increased sections. Well, first I forgot to weigh it right away. So when it was about this big, that's when I weighed the skein, which is why I'm saying I think it was about 110. By the time I weighed it, it was like 106 grams, but I had knit, well, probably more like that much of it. Maybe like that much of it. And so that's when I remembered to weigh the skein. So I knit all the increases, all the increased sections. And then once I got to the part where you kind of maintain the width, instead of just going based on the pattern and the number of repeats, I went until I thought I had about 50% of the yarn left. And then I just mirrored it from the other side. So it normally calls for 6 pattern repeats where you don't increase on the sides, and mine ended up being 12. So I doubled that amount. And so this shawl is, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's 6 pattern repeats. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, about that much longer than it would have been if I just went based on the pattern. And in the end, I ended up with the tiniest little ball of yarn left. So I'm really happy with how it turned out. And this is going to be a great shop sample, an example of that yarn. I just think it's beautiful. This pattern, this is my, I want to say 5th one. I think this is my 5th mill hollow that I've made. I thoroughly enjoy making it. It is so fun. I knit this. I started it on Thursday, Friday. I knit it in 5 days. Thursday, Friday, Saturday. No, 4. I knit it in 4 days. And blocked it this morning. Dried really fast because it's hot. So I love how it turned out. I definitely am excited to try dyeing this base with some different colors, and also dyeing this base and other yarns, because this was a newly developed color, and this was the first time we tested it. So I want to dye this color on some, like on our contemporary sock, our biography sock, our classic DK, so that I can see the difference. But I also want to dye some of our standard authors colors with the yak so I can see the difference. But I love the feel of it. I definitely want to knit socks with this next and see how they wear and everything. Oh, it's just so lovely. It's got just such a nice richness to it that I really, really enjoy. All right, so that was my second finished project. Let's talk spinning works in progress really quick. This is another one that I think I maybe showed this on my last episode. I don't remember. This is all fiber created by LCB. And I will put the colorways in the description box below. I don't remember them right now. But my plan, I had 2 braids. So I had this braid and then this braid. I divided each braid in half. So, and then I weighed them so that I could make sure that they were pretty close in size. And I spun the first half of this multicolor one. And it's so fun because there's everything from like peachy pinks to almost bright pink, or sorry, peachy yellows, like soft yellows, and then peachy pinks and browns, almost like a hot pink fuchsia. And there's some really, really light, almost white spots. So as you go through this bobbin, there's just so many different colors. And then I'm in the process of spinning the second half on a second bobbin. And it's really fun. I did not pre-draft. I did not separate these out any farther. This is what this braid is looking like. And it's so fun as I'm drafting it. It is traveling just back and forth beautifully along that edge. And I'm getting long color repeats because I did not separate it out farther. And so this is giving me those longer repeats. And my current plan is that I will have my 2 bobbins of this colorway, and then I will have my 2 bobbins of this colorway, and then I will ply one of these and one of these together. And then I will end up with 2 skeins of 2-ply that I can use in a project together. So that is my plan, but I think it's just absolutely gorgeous. This is 100%, oh no, this is Falkland Merino top. And look at that, isn't that just beautiful? I honestly will never, ever, ever get enough of a yellow pink combination. It just looks like heaven. It looks like a peach or an apricot, or maybe even a really pale gold Rainier cherry. Oh, I just think that looks like heaven. So beautiful. I admit though, I am finding it hard to find the time to spin as much as I would like, partially because my house has been the location for a lot of work projects for Heroic Youth, and so I just haven't been able to keep my wheel in my living room all the time, and that's where I tend to spin the most, is here in my living room. And so I just haven't done as much spinning as I would like to, but that's okay. It'll be there and I will get back to it. I'm about a quarter, not even a quarter, probably more like a fifth of the way through that second multicolor fluff bundle, I don't know, section, half, whatever you want to call it. So it's so gorgeous though. So beautiful. All right, I have one more knitting project I can show you. I can't show you one of the projects that I'm working on because it's for my secret swap for my knitting group. So if you've watched my podcast for a while, you know that in our knitting group, we do this really, really fun secret swap. Usually, I think it's in April where we swap. Everybody who wants to participate brings a skein of their own yarn. I mean, it can be deep stash, a treasured skein, a souvenir skein, something, whatever it is, a skein of yarn that they love. And we all put them in paper bags with a little questionnaire we filled out about things that we like, our favorite colors, what our sizes are for socks and hats and things like that. And you fill out a little questionnaire, and then everybody takes home a bag, and you don't know whose is going to be, whose you're going to get. So we have a little way that has been arranged so you can make sure to not get your own, and that's the only thing you have to worry about. And then you can knit something or make something. It doesn't have to be knit, it could be crocheted or whatever. We've had weaving, crocheting, and knitting. I think those are the only ones we've had. And you make something for that person, and you use the yarn that they gave you. And the idea is to use all of it, or as much of it as you can, but you can add in other yarn or yarns if you would like to. But you just want to make sure to use up as much of the skein they gave you. You want that to be the star of the show because that's the one they picked out. And it is so fun. And then in October, we trade back. So I've been working on the project for the person in my knitting group. And I cannot show you that project because I know many members of my knitting group watch my podcast. And I don't want to ruin it for the person who would receive it, but I also don't want to ruin it for other people in my knitting group because nobody knows who has them, right? So yeah, I'm going to not show it. However, I am going to show it once it's all done and been given to its recipient. I will definitely talk about it and show it then. I will record video before I give it so that I can share it after. So the only other project I can share that I have currently on the needles is a second pair of Christmas in July socks. And these are for my daughter. Aren't they fun? So this yarn, which is right here, this yarn is, where's the label? There it is. It's by the Knitted Whit. And the colorway is Seed Spitting Contest. So this one was meant to be watermelon, and I definitely can see the watermelon. It's got little bits of black in it, little bits that could totally read watermelon seeds. It's so fun. But I'm definitely trying to go for Christmassy. This one is not necessarily a sock yarn. It's 100% superwash merino. And so I am knitting it for my oldest daughter, who is the most likely to care for knitted garments with great care. You know what? I say that, but I think most of my children are really good at it. But I know she will be. I also don't anticipate, she tends to run hot. So I don't anticipate her wearing these until she wears them out, because if she's at home, she's probably barefoot. But she will enjoy it for Christmas. Now, what's interesting is that this is 400 yards to 4 ounces, which means that it is a heavy fingering weight. It's definitely got, it's definitely thicker than, for example, my 80-20 contemporary base, which is 400 yards to 3.5 ounces. 100 grams is about 3.5 ounces. So this is probably more like 120-ish grams, and it's 400 yards. So it's definitely got some extra thickness to it. It's really nice. It's kind of making a stiff fabric, which again, I think is great for the fact that it does not have any nylon in it. It's a little bit tighter in its gauge, a little bit denser. I think that's the word I want to go for, because I'm still knitting it on a 2.25 millimeter needle. And I've used my 80-20 base, my contemporary sock base, and the colorway Seuss for the contrast. And so this first sock is finished. I cast on, for this daughter, I've cast on 68 stitches, and I knit a 20 row cuff and then a 70 row leg. And then I did my heel flap, turn and gusset. And then once the decreases were complete, I did 63 rows. Actually, I did 58 of this colorway because I put 5 plain knitted rows here before I started the decreases. So it's a total of 68 rows from the end of the gusset decreases to the toe decreases. And that's because the girls in my family, me and my 2 daughters, we have big feet. So this is going to fit a women's size 11, US size 11 foot. Now, one of the things about this one, because both with this one and with this one, because I chose to do a heel flap, there is a little change right through the gusset area in the thickness of stripes, how wide each stripe is, how many rows each stripe is. I don't think you can really tell it much here. It's not a dramatic difference, but you can tell it more here on this sock, because look at the change in the way the yarn is pooling through the gusset decreases right there. So you can see how nicely, you know, this is looking here, and then it changes, and then it changes back. I'm not worried about that. My daughter will not be worried about it. But if you wanted to avoid that, then an afterthought heel or a short row heel would help to avoid that. I am not a huge fan of short row heels. I don't like knitting them, and I don't like the way they fit me. And so I tend to, if I want to avoid interrupting a pattern, I tend to do afterthought heels. And, but I just chose to do a heel flap and gusset. That's just my favorite. That's my favorite. So that's the first sock. And then the second sock, I have just completed the heel flap and the turn, and picked up the stitches so that I can be knitting the gusset. I think I've done the pickup stitches in one round of the gusset. And so here's my setup with my 3 points of my magic loop. That's how I like to do it. And I've got a fun little Santa charm. Just enjoying that Christmas in July. Reminds me that fun times are ahead. Now I've got something tangled around. Oh, here we go. It's just tangled around. But yeah, so that one's going along. I've got it in this really cute little Valentines bag. We're combining Valentine's and Christmas in July. This is by Little Robin Cottage. Oh, and I just ordered a really cute tote bag from her that I'm so excited to get. A quilted tote bag from Little Robin Cottage. I love Lacey's bags. So looking forward to that. I think that's everything that I can show you. I wish I could show you my other project just because it's so, I'm just thoroughly enjoying working on it. It's so fun and I think it's going to be absolutely beautiful. But it will be fun as a surprise. But I think I need to cast on, I have a hat design in my brain. What is happening? My hair is blowing in my face. I have a hat design in my brain that I really want to start working on. So I just don't, it's kind of hovering there and I don't know if I have the mental capacity to try and think through it because it's going to have a little bit of complicated, it's going to be a little bit complicated as I'm designing it. I think it will be thoroughly enjoyable to knit, but I don't quite have the mental space for that. So as soon as I say I'm going to start designing that soon, I realize I'm not. I'm going to wait until after Heroic Youth is finished for the year, and then I will tackle it. So let's talk books. Okay. I got so many book recommendations on my last episode. Thank you. My to be read pile has grown enormously. I started just going through as comments were coming in and going and looking up books and anything that sounded remotely interesting to me, which was a lot of them. I just started putting them on hold through my library, through my Libby app with my local library. And so I have most of them, unfortunately, were not available at the time. I did need to put them on hold. So I've done that. And yeah, it's made me really excited because I was feeling really sad. As you know, I just felt like nothing was ever going to measure up to Where the Crawdads Sing, which honestly, you know, it's okay if things don't measure up because not everything is the same thing, and that's all right. But I wanted to find something that was as satisfying and engrossing to me as that book was. I don't know that I found anything that engrossing again yet, but some of the highlights, I read 2 more books by Anne Cleeves. I've read, those 2 were The Long Call and Heron's Cry, and I have liked Anne Cleeves in the past. So I enjoyed those. I don't really feel the need to keep reading in the Matthew Venn series. That's what that series is. I kind of am like, yeah, I've got enough of these characters. I don't really care enough about them to keep going. And the way that Anne Cleeves writes, it's very episodic in that you've got a set of characters and then you get, you know, each book has kind of, here's the story of these here's one story, here's one crime that they're solving. And then you go to the next one, here's another crime. And while it may refer to some things in the past, each one is very much a standalone kind of story. So it's episodic in nature. And so I'm feeling kind of like, yeah, I'm good. I'm good with that. So at this time anyway, I'm not going to continue on with that. I read Bel Canto by, her name just escaped me. Pratchett. What is her first name? It's gone from my head right now, but I will put it in the description box, or actually I'll put it here on the screen. So I finished reading that one. That one was a very interesting story. Good book, as in it was very well written. Very descriptive. It definitely does kind of transport you to another place and feel like you really are getting a picture of the characters there, and you care deeply about some of those characters. It's a high stakes story, but it also is a book where nothing really happens. Like one big thing happens and then nothing really happens. And then in the end, it has this strangely disjointed ending. And so I kind of walked away from it going, well, that was a book. I don't know. I enjoyed it while I was reading, but I was super annoyed with it by the time I finished it. I was just really annoyed with it. Yeah. So it was an interesting read. And I just finished, I think, was it yesterday or the day before, I finished The Marsh King's Daughter. That was one I had been waiting for from the library. It was somebody recommended it after Crawdads. And that was a really interesting read. I really enjoyed that one, actually. It's not this beautiful descriptive writing. So just a little recap of what I talked about last week. I really am looking for books that combine gorgeous writing with very compelling story and characters. So it's that magic moment. And it's just not, you just can't find that everywhere. That's the magic of great books, right? And so I don't necessarily want to read every book saying, did it hit the target? Did it hit the target? I want to also experience books and just say, it was wonderful for what it was. But I'm struggling to do that right now. So The Marsh King's Daughter, it didn't hit that target, but it had the very compelling characters and compelling story and good, solid, decent writing. That's pretty awesome. That's pretty awesome. So I enjoyed that. And now I just started reading the second book in a series. Again, I was waiting for this one from my library, and it came through just as I was finishing Marsh King's Daughter. And it's a fantasy series by Lois McMaster Bujold. The first book is called The Curse of Chalion, which I read, I think I read that after Crawdads, but anyway, I think it was end of May, June-ish. And then I've been waiting for the second one, which is called Paladin of Souls, and that's what I'm listening to right now. It's very, very, very different from what I've been reading recently, and so it's kind of a nice change. It's fun. It's not like anything super amazing, but I'm enjoying it. It's fun. But I have lots of books that I'm really excited about that I'm in the queue for, I'm waiting for. So that's my bookish update. And I wanted to share that with you because so many of you got really invested in my search for books. And I want you to know I'm reporting back on how it's going. All right, so let's talk yarn. I have so many fun things to share with you. They're all stacked in this little laundry basket right here. So let me move things. Okay. So first off, I wanted to remind everybody that Old Glory, this patriotic inspired yarn. This is Old Glory. These sets, I have just a few of these left on Contemporary Sock, and I think one or two left on Classic DK. And these are our colorway of the month for July. Today is July 29th. So that means if you want them on the 30% off, you've got, from whenever this airs, you've got 1 or 2 days left to snag those up. And then they go back up to their regular price. So, but I just think that is such a fun colorway. And so many people commented about this mini skein that I'm super excited to share, that we have added that to our authors line. This super rich royal blue. Come on. There we go. And I've got it here. I'm showing it on our Sci-Fi Sparkle Contemporary Sock and Biography Sock. And I was trying to think, okay, which author should I name this after? And both my husband and I immediately came up with the same author. So this is Sanderson. So it's named after Brandon Sanderson, one of the most accomplished and prolific fantasy writers ever. I mean, he's amazing. If you haven't been reading Brandon Sanderson and you like fantasy, who even are you? And if you don't like fantasy, maybe give it a try anyway. Honestly, he writes very long form fantasy in most ways. He's all about the epic. So Sanderson is now available on 5 bases. We've got biography sock, biography sock, contemporary sock, sci-fi sparkle sock, classic DK, and memoir worsted. So that is Sanderson. All right, now for those of you who are Hogwarts Library Club lovers, I am about to show July's colorway. Yeah, all of a sudden I was second guessing that. Yes. Why is this so hard for me to, okay. Yes, this is July's colorway, and it is inspired by 1,000 magical herbs and fungi. And so if you do not want to see it, now is your chance. Close your eyes because I'm going to show it. Here we go. I just love this so much. Now this one is a damaged skein. So it's this specific one I'm holding in my hand is one I can't send out. I can't sell. But there it is. And I just love how it turned out. And okay, it's now not being on, it's not on the screen anymore, so you can look again. That got damaged because when I get our hanks of yarn from the mill, they come with extra ties on them that kind of help to delineate bases from each other. It makes it easier while you're dyeing yarn. So if you're dyeing multiple bases at once and you're soaking, like I do a pre-soak, while it's soaking, you can see by the different colored ties which base is which, so that you put the right thing in the right dye bath, right? Okay, so before I twist those hanks up into skeins, I mean, technically, anyway, hank versus skein, we don't need to get into the debate. But while I'm twisting them up, I take off the additional ties. And I have never, ever done this before, but I cut 2 additional strands of yarn when I was cutting that extra tie. And I was like, how did I, anyway. So I get to keep that one, which is great because I don't usually get to keep my Hogwarts yarn. So the August colorway is going to be inspired, can I remember? Oh yes, all of a sudden it went out of my head, by the book in the Harry Potter books called The Dream Oracle. So that will be our colorway for August. And August is going to be a little bit different. Normally I keep the listings open until about the 20th of the month, and then we ship them by the 25th. But for August, because of our heroic youth commitments, we are shipping by August 15th. So I will only be keeping those listings up till probably about August 10th or 12th. So if you are somebody who's a Hogwarts collector, you're going to want to make sure to get your order in quickly because it's going to go fast this month. I didn't want to skip August. In years past, when I've done our mystery clubs, I've usually skipped August, but I didn't want to. I have so many of these colorways that I want to do from the Hogwarts library. I didn't want to skip it. So we're doing it. We're just doing it early in the month. So make sure to get that ordered. Okay. Next up we have restocked some of our Little House. So these are the 2 that I've restocked. We've added Prairie Sky and Maple Sugar Party. back into the shop. Oh, I absolutely love both of these sets. And my True North sock pattern, this is the yarn that I knit it up. So when you look at that sock pattern, you can see an example of it knit up. But I just absolutely love these. So those are restocked, and right now they're on contemporary sock. And now I have to share, these are just the first 2 colorways from our newest collection. And I honestly, Richard and I were talking the other day and we were like, how have we never done this collection before now? Now we have another big collection that's going to come out in the fall that is also one that you would think is an obvious one for me to have done before. But I have deliberately saved that one. Like, I've been planning it for so long. I've deliberately saved it. But this one, I just didn't think of it. I mean, it's not, anyway, doesn't matter. We are doing a Princess Bride collection, and we have our first 2 colorways up. So I have to show them to you. I love them both so much. So this is our first one, and this is called As You Wish. Isn't that so fun? It just, Abby says it's the green hill and the blue sky when he's rolling down the hill going, as you wish. And then Buttercup throws herself down after him and says, oh, my sweet, my sweet. So this is As You Wish. And then this one is oh, I want to find it. Like, I have to find my prettiest skein to show you. Well, this is pretty good. This is Princess Buttercup. And I told you I cannot get enough of a pink and yellow combination. And this one is absolutely to die for. Oh my goodness. I think this might be my favorite colorway we've ever done. But you know what? So is this one. And guess what? That's a pink and gold combination. It's just, I love it so much. So these are our first 2 colorways in our Princess Bride collection, and there will be more of these coming. So I just can't wait to share those with you. And those are all in the shop now. There's a lot of other wonderful stuff in the shop too. I've got some Book Boyfriend. So this is Book Boyfriend. I've got Jane Austen colors. We've got Swashbuckle. There's a few things. So go and check them out. All the authors are available. So lots going on. And hold on, that's my son at the door. I just had to let him in. Imagine that, he wanted to come inside. So the last shop news that I wanted to talk about is our Christmas countdown box. And the only reason I'm mentioning it is I have 4 spots left. I opened up a few additional spots, and all that I have left are 4 spots left in the Christmas at Orchard House countdown box. So this will not be a traditional yarn advent where it's a 25-day open it every day advent. This will be 4 sock sets that you will open the Sundays, each of the 4 Sundays in December, counting down to Christmas time. And it will include an original sock pattern by me, as well as some little extras and fun things. So everything will be inspired by Little Women and celebrating Christmas with the March family at their beautiful and very homey orchard house. And I'm really excited about this box. So one of the fun things about it is there will be different sock bases. It's not necessarily saying that all 4, it's not saying that you'll have 4 entirely different bases, but there will be some different bases included so that you can kind of try different things. And what else was I going to say about that? It's not listed on my website. So if you are interested, there is a link down below in the description box to a form that you would fill out. And then I will send out an invoice for you to pay. My shop is powered by Etsy, and Etsy does not work well with advanced pre-sales like this where we're selling, quite a bit of time in advance. So we're doing this not through my website. So make sure to fill out that box or that form if you're interested in one of the Orchard House countdown boxes. And I think that is all the shop news. So the last thing I wanted to talk about is just to briefly mention my 50 skeins before 50 birthday giveaway that I've been doing. I talked about this on our last episode, but this is happening over on Instagram. So if you are on Instagram, make sure to come and follow me there, follow Yarnbrary, and join in for that. And all that is that I'm giving away 50 skeins of yarn before my 50th birthday, which is in October. And so far we've given away 13 of the 50. And it has been it's just been really delightful because I just ask a kind of open-ended question for each of the giveaways. And I get to read all of these amazing comments. And so far I've asked questions about like, what kinds of yarn do you like to add to your stash? And what's a fiber skill you wish you could learn? Who's the person that inspired you to love the fiber arts? That was one of our questions. Just questions like that. And it's been really neat to read all of the replies. And I can't like go in and respond to all of them because then that would mess up with how I calculate how many comments there are for me to then have a random number generator pick the winner. But even though I can't comment on them, I read them all. And I absolutely love reading through them and just getting to know all of the people who have participated. It's really been a joyful and enriching experience. And there's no strings attached. Like you don't have to tag 5 people or I don't know, anything. I just want to get to know people and you just come and comment and then you could win yarn. So I've sent out a whole bunch of yarn and I've got like 3 more packages to go now. And I've got some other yarn dyers who are participating as well. So Pamela of PK Yarn hosted one of the days and I've got somebody else hosting this week and 2 others that are coming up that are hosting days of the giveaway. So it's just really, really fun. So I really encourage you to come over to Instagram and follow Yarnbrary so that you can participate in those giveaways and see them. I post them it just depends on the week, every 2 to 3 days. We did 3 giveaways last week, 2 the week before, I think 4 the week before that, something like that. So yeah, it's just really, really fun. And I think there couldn't have been a better way for me to celebrate turning 50 this year. As giving away yarn. It's just the best, right? So I think that's everything that I wanted to share today. I don't know exactly when I'll be recording again next, but I say that every time. So we'll just kind of see how it goes. And I hope I will be able to record at least one more time in August. But August is crazy. So if I don't get there, just know I'm okay. And I will see you in September. Cross your fingers for me and say a prayer for me, my friends. I'm going to need it to get through the next few weeks of prepping for our big events. We have, roughly 1,500 people that will be at our, by the end of our big events. And, but it's not just the number of people, it's how many moving pieces there are to put it all together. So it's just a lot and it feels like extra this year. Our theme this year is resilience. And we're like, yeah, we can tell that that's the theme. We're learning the lessons on a daily basis. But I wouldn't trade it. I wouldn't trade it. It's the best. So, but I could use your good luck. So send it my way. And I'll talk to you all soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.